Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is the Breaking Free Show. And I am so happy to have you here today. Hope all is well and you're enjoying July 29th. But it could be July 30th where you are. Maybe it's even July 28th. I don't know. But it's really nice to have you here. We have a great show in store, and you are always invited to join us anytime you want. We have a chat that you can come in, comment, ask questions, whatever you like. Just put your name under the video and you can come in there anytime during the show. And you can also call in to 919-518-9773. And then you can come in on Skype voice. That is not video, that is voice. At computers, that's plural, the number 2K voice. And so before I introduce my guests, say hi to Amnon.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. How was your weekend?
My weekend was great.
Good.
I got some color. Been swimming, exercising, yogaing, staying with my grandchildren, having a good time.
Nice.
Yeah, and you?
It was good weather.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
do anything special?
I went over to Hannah's and I built her a table.
Hannah is his daughter. Yeah, go
and I
ahead.
built her a wall unit with a desk and
You're such a
some
nice
shelves.
daddy.
Well,
You're a good daddy. That's good. She's getting ready for school, right?
Yep.
Good. All right. Good. Well, thank you for sharing. All right, everyone. So we have a great show in store. And I'm going to introduce my guests to you today, but I'm going to have them tell you exactly who they are. And today's going to be an interesting day because it's a subject we hear about, but maybe you know enough about or a lot about. I know nothing. So here we go. We're going to be talking about minimalists. And today we have Rose Lounsbury and Erin Beckman. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, Marilyn. Good to be here.
Nice to have you here. It's nice to see you both. So I'm going to start with Rose. Rose, tell us who you are.
So I am a minimalism and simplicity coach. And basically what that means is I help people find freedom and peace of mind in their lives by letting go of some of the excess stuff that might be keeping them from the goals and the life that they actually want to live. So sometimes that means I'm coaching people one-on-one. Sometimes it means we're doing this online. I also have a book, and I'm also a mom of triplets who just turned 10 years old. And so that's pretty much me. I'm a coach and a mom.
Cool. And triplets, boys, girls, what?
2 boys and 1 girl.
Wow. That is a blessing. I have to tell you, my mother is a twin. She's 94. And she and my aunt, I'll tell you, she and my aunt are amazing. And they're both still thriving and doing all the stuff that you would do at whatever age, and amazing. So it's a blessing. Yeah, it's really fun.
That's amazing.
It is. It really is. So, Erin, thanks for coming. And Rose, thanks for coming. Erin, now thanks for coming too. So tell us who you are, Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm a single mom of 2 girls, and I met Rose because our children go to school together, and she introduced me to minimalism, and it came at a point in my life when I needed it, and I embraced it, and I'm still on this journey and learning, and happy to be here talking about it.
Well, it's an exciting thought. Like I was telling my daughter today, she had just moved into a new house, and she was telling me she was going to the dump. And we have a really cool dump here. I mean, a really cool dump. It's like going to an airport. Everything is color coded. It's a very exciting place to go. And I was like, wow, it's a great feeling to unload certain things and get rid of them, but it's also scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
So first of all, and you tell me how you want to go because you know more about this than I do. Would it be appropriate for Erin now to share her story?
It's completely up to you. I mean, Erin can share her story.
Okay.
We can talk more about what minimalism is, whatever you think
Okay.
would be helpful
Okay.
for your listeners.
Okay. So Erin, why don't you share your story because you do have me intrigued with that, and then we'll go into more of a discussion of what it means.
Okay. Well, I'll keep this as brief as possible. My husband was diagnosed with ALS back in 2007 when I was pregnant with my first daughter. So he became totally paralyzed within a year. And then we had our second daughter, and I took care of him and raised my children. He lived 4 years, and in that 4 years, I accumulated more than I ever had because I was dealing with emotions by buying stuff. I was stuck at home, and the only way I found a way to fill the grief and the void was I just kept buying things. And I already come from a family that shows love with money and objects. So
Mhm.
it started to collect and become a problem. Um, and then fast forward to, gosh, it's been 9 years since he passed, and I wasn't emotionally capable of dealing with my attic and basement and all those boxes until I read Rosa's book and found the strength to go through all his things.
Yeah, see, that's part of what I want to understand, and I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah, that I can't, and ALS, I know some things about, and I can't even imagine. So I would say you're quite a woman to have been able to do anything. And that's part of what I think about when we talk about this is memories and those things. And how do
Yes.
you clean up your memories and get rid of them? I mean, my house it's not crowded, but it is full of memories. So, Rose, talk to us about that and what this whole movement means.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the idea of memories or memorabilia because I get asked about that a lot. And usually, what I tell people when you're dealing with your stuff, no matter what it is, whether it's a coffee cup in your kitchen or a photo album, in your memorabilia area, you're actually not just dealing with your stuff. What you're dealing with are your emotions and feelings about the stuff. And so we don't always realize that. I often compare it to someone who might have an eating disorder. Their problem is not with food. Their problem is with their feelings about the food and what it does for them or what it fulfills for them, the emotional aspect of it. So I tell people when you go to deal with your stuff, realize you're not just dealing with your stuff, you're dealing with your emotions about the stuff. So I usually recommend that if people are starting this journey, you start where the emotions are simplest, easiest, and lowest. So usually I recommend people start with things like their bathroom products or maybe their clothing or things in their kitchen. Now, Erin, starting with her late husband's belongings, that's what I would call probably the bravest thing I've ever seen anybody do, because that's one of those areas that is so emotionally charged. The feelings in an area like that are so strong that to face it requires incredible courage. I mean, it requires so much courage to do what she did. And I'm just so proud of her. And I'm so impressed that she was able to do this. And then so interesting that after dealing with the most difficult emotional spot, then she dealt with the simpler spot. So she did it exactly the opposite of how I tell people to do it. But I find that so interesting because it totally worked for her. It's like there was this huge block that she had to bust through. And once she busted through the block, she was able to deal with everything else. So that's kind of what I tell people when they're dealing with things is realize you're going to encounter emotions and that is normal and natural. And what you're really dealing with are the emotions that those things bring up. Another thing I often tell people about memorabilia in general is that there's only two things that can happen to memorabilia over time. One is it becomes more important, and two is it becomes less important. Those are the only two things that can happen to those memories that fill our homes and fill our attics and closets. So when you're dealing with memorabilia specifically, the question you're asking yourself is not, does this bring me joy? Or should I keep this or do I want to look at it? But has it become more important to me or has it become less important to me? Because when we save things, at the moment of saving, that thing is very important. But with time is the great determiner of whether it stays important or not, because we're always changing and time is always passing. Things are either going to grow in importance or they're going to wane in importance. And that's really the question that I have people ask themselves when dealing with memorabilia specifically is, has it become more important or less important? And you only know that by listening to your heart.
Right.
And your heart will not steer you wrong on that path.
Yeah, my husband and I moved from our house that we sold to a rented townhome and have lots of things in a storage unit, and we have things in our garage, that the stuff in the garage I can go to, but the stuff in the storage unit, I don't even remember what's there. And it's been a
Yeah.
year and a half. So, you have to think, how important is that stuff if I don't remember? But I want to ask you, Erin, because what you dealt with is is the hardest thing to deal with. How did you do it?
Well, I had been thinking about it for years. And it was a challenge, a Christmas challenge that you were supposed to get rid of 12 days. First day, get rid of one thing. Second day, get rid of two things.
Now, where did that come from? Was that from Rose? Did you give her that
That was
challenge?
from Rose.
Okay.
And that was, I was like, well, I'll stick my toe in and see how this goes. And day one, I think I got rid of probably 20 to 30 items. And then it just snowballed, and all my Christmas stuff was in the attic. So every time I opened that attic door, I would see boxes and boxes that I hadn't opened. And it was time to start diving in. I as Rose said, I did it a little bit differently than she suggests. I first went through my dad's stuff, and I had boxes of my dad's stuff that nobody in the family wanted, and recognized that I didn't want my dad's stuff. It was a lot of his college things and high school things when I didn't know him. And that was kind of the catalyst for me to say, well, my kids will remember their dad. Why are they going to want his high school things? And that propelled me forward into premeditating what I was going to keep. Instead of going through each box, I picked a couple items that I wanted to keep. And then I knew my husband from age 12. So he always liked to write me notes, write me poems. So I kept all his writing and pictures, and I kept 2 material items. And the rest, I didn't even go through. A lot of it just went straight out the door.
I think one thing that I do want to mention that's so interesting about the way Erin did this was she didn't look at every single thing. And I think that I learned that by her story, because one of the ways I've always told people is, well, you go through everything, right? Look at it all, decide how you feel about it, if it's more or less important. But what Erin did was she, I think, had the wisdom to realize that going through every single thing was going to be such an emotional journey, and it was going to be so difficult, that she first thought about what really matters to me. What are the memories that I really want to hold on to from my husband? And I don't know if you wrote them down or if you just mentally knew what those things were. And she went in and extracted just those things and then let the rest go without even looking at it.
I did, because I knew each and every item I would attach a memory to. And I personally could not go down that road and relive my life with him. It had been enough years that I'm ready to move on, and I needed to let the grief go and move forward. And I hadn't been moving forward. I was kind of stuck in a place of being a widow and in this place of grief, and it wasn't fair to my children. I'm ready to live my own life and start a life for me and not be attached to him anymore.
Erin, but it took you several years, right? So you have to go
It
through
took
some
many
of them.
years.
Okay, so I mean, I wouldn't say that you did nothing. I would say that you went through the prepping. You went through the mourning. And everybody would do it differently, right? So it took you maybe, what you say, 9 years?
Yeah.
It took you 9 years. Somebody else maybe 4 years, somebody else 12 years. I mean, we don't know. But you weren't standing still, even though it might have looked that way. It seems like you were prepping yourself. Yes, you were getting ready. The question I have before we get on with the next is, how old are your children now?
They are 9 and 11.
So did you consider like what they might have wanted from their dad, or how did that go? Because that's another issue.
Well, like I said, when I went through my father's things, I realized that there's nothing for me. There's nothing to do with this stuff. They don't remember him at all. So for
Okay.
me, it was pretty easy because I don't want to burden them with material items from somebody they don't necessarily
know.
remember. I
Right.
think most importantly are the letters and the notes. And he actually, before he passed, wrote them letters to open on their 16th birthday. So he left them a gift, and those things are what's important.
Right.
And that's easy to save. And
Right.
that's in
Right.
a small box that is easy to.
So how is your
Very-
life now? Because this is
I'm
important.
sorry?
How is your life now? This is important for everybody to hear. How is your life now after the fact? After you've cleaned up? What's it like?
Well, I'm still working on it. This summer, things have been put on hold because the kids are around all the time. And what I've found lately is I'm really exploring, I was just telling Rose, exploring my mental health and how it relates to minimalism and diving even deeper into myself. I've had some emotional issues lately. I lost somebody else close to me and I wanted to buy a car. And I almost bought a car. And then it dawned on me that I was buying stuff again.
Right.
Not because I needed things, but because I was feeling sad.
The immediate gratification.
Right. And that's been really fascinating to me.
Sure.
On how the minimalism ties to my emotions.
So Rose, let's kind of segue into you, because I'm hearing that, and I'm hearing, people overeat, people start to smoke, people start to drink. I mean, when you clean up, you clean up. So talk to us some about that.
About the idea of
cleaning up
being an addiction. Absolutely. I mean, it's not so much an addiction as it's a way to sort of soothe ourselves. If you feel some type of anxiety, some people turn to food, some people turn to alcohol. We're trying to get the dopamine hit in our brain. We're trying to comfort ourselves. And so we turn to comforts, and shopping and purchasing does exactly what other substances do. It gives you a little bit of a jolt. It gives you a little bit of gratification. It makes you feel good. But like any type of addiction, right, that's short-lived. And then you're chasing the next high, right? You bought a car that might have made you feel good for a few days, maybe a week, but then that's going to wear off. And then you would need to buy another thing. And it's also like an addiction where your threshold increases, right? That's why we keep chasing it. So you buy the car, well, that wasn't enough. So maybe you need to go buy an expensive purse, and that was enough. So you're going to keep trying to up the ante to fill the void with things. And this is the exact same thing that people do with substances and gambling, exercise, food. All sorts of things can trigger this cycle. And that's, again, coming back to that idea that when we're dealing with stuff, we're actually dealing with our emotions about our stuff, because often even the acquisition of those things was an emotional decision. Gotcha. And so it came into our life on emotions, and then it has to leave our life on emotions. And so we wade into a lot of water. So I think what's really amazing about what Erin said was that she had the consciousness to recognize what she was doing. And I think so many of us don't see that, right? We don't see in the moment, like, I feel sad, or I feel lost, or I have grief in my life right now. And that's why I'm acting this way. We'd like to say, no, I need the new car. I need the new computer. I've got to have the new iPhone. I need new jeans. I need a new purse. We're not actually thinking about why we think we need those things. So she did the powerful thing of asking herself why. And I think that that's a good tip for anyone who's listening who might struggle with a shopping addiction of any kind, or you try to feed your emotions with shopping or consumerism. Before you make the purchase, ask yourself why. Really, really honestly, why? and
So,
you're going to
mhm,
rationalize to yourself. You're going to give yourself some fake answers,
mhm.
but maybe run those answers through a loved one or a good friend and see if they agree with your reasons, or if they can see that you're actually just trying to trick yourself into thinking that you
Right.
need to buy
So
something.
under this it sounds like this is like a an umbrella, and every different people have a different gauge. What might be minimal to me may not be minimal to you. What might be minimal to you may not be minimal to me. Is that correct?
That would be
Yes.
correct. Yes.
So what else? So grief. What other things come under this? What other would be a chunk of something that people are that they would call upon you for, to help them, clean up, get rid. Is it change of life? Moving from a big house to a small house? Is it age? What areas and what does it look like?
So, other transitional moments, and I find that people generally call me or take a course with me because they're going through some type of transition. That could be they have just had a baby, or they're downsizing from, like how you said, you downsized from a big house to a smaller house. They got a new job, they moved. Those are situations where suddenly the amount of stuff that we have becomes very obvious, and we feel a need. I think when we're transitioning, we feel a need to have some type of control in our lives, because it kind of also makes us realize that we can't control a lot of things in our lives. And so one of the things we start to do is we want to get control of our physical things. And getting control of your physical things, what that actually does is it gives you control of your mind and your emotions. So you clear out the closet. Physically, you see clear space, but what the actual benefit of that is the mental clarity that you've created by clearing physical space. So our physical space, I think, is a direct reflection of our mental space.
Mhm.
And so when we tidy up or we clear or we simplify or organize the physical space, that has an effect on our mental space. And researchers, people smarter than me, have done studies that actually prove that scientifically, that that is what happens. And interestingly, it's a greater effect on women than men in general. It's not true of everyone, but in general, women in a cluttered environment feel more cluttered in their mind. They'll mentally feel disorganized or distracted. Men, as some of us with anecdotal evidence might know, don't tend to have that same reaction, although some do. I don't want to pigeonhole anyone because of their sex, but generally, that's why I think women tend to take my courses more often or hire me more often. Not that I don't have men who do, but generally, women are more greatly affected by this. And in terms of where in their home or their life they're asking for my help, it can vary widely.
Mhm.
Things like their paperwork, if they have young children, often children's toys and clothes, their kitchens, their storage spaces,
Right.
um, really anywhere in their home or their workspace could be the place. Like for Erin, the place that was causing the biggest emotional blockage was the attic. The boxes in the attic were her biggest emotional block. For some people, it's their kitchen. And I've had clients who've experienced food scarcity in their lives. Like as children, there wasn't enough food. So for them to actually go through and deal with their kitchen is very emotional. It's like an emotional minefield because it brings up all these feelings of fear and scarcity that are very real to them.
Right.
Other people who've never experienced something like that, it's like, yeah, just get rid of some coffee cups and
S-
throw out the food that's expired and
Right.
it's nothing
So
to
let
them.
me
They're
ask
not
you this. So
it.
how do you practice what you preach in your life, Rose? How do you practice minimalism in your life with three kids and 10-year-olds, right? How do you do it?
Yes, yes, they're 10. So when I started, so I was not born a minimalist. I was not necessarily made this way. But when I started, what I asked myself was, how much do I need? And one of the things I started with was my towels. And I had this whole cupboard, full of towels, like as many towels as you could fit in the cupboard. And of course, like anyone, we're only using the same towels and putting them on the top of the stack every single time. You're always, your towel cupboard's always threatening to fall out on you.
That's right.
And so I started there and I said, how many towels do I really need? And I determined for my family that that was 2 towels per person. And so it seemed really strange to me to be like, only 10 towels for the whole family. That's just weird. but I let go of all the rest of the towels. And that was, 7 years ago now. And we've never purchased more towels in 7 years. And so that was sort of like a first foray to realize that I could live with a lot less than I think I can. And I realized that a lot of the messages that I was receiving about how much I needed or how much I should have was not coming from me. It was coming from society. It was coming from advertising. It was coming from the Joneses down the street. I was looking at other people to kind of tell me what I should have instead of looking at myself. So I started applying that idea of how much do I need to every area of my life. So in the kitchen, how many coffee cups do I need? In my closet, how many t-shirts and jeans and pairs of shoes do I need? In my attic, how many boxes of holiday decorations do I need? And as I started to look at things through that lens of need, I realized that I had so much excess. It was almost unfathomable how much more I had beyond my needs. It was just this lens that I started looking at everything. And I will add that I think it's important to not just have what you need, but also what you truly love. So, I'm sitting in my house right now. You can see I have a painting behind me. Do I need that painting to survive? Absolutely not. Do I love it? And when I look at it, am I happy? Yes. So I look at things through the lens of not just do I need it, but do I love it? Or how much do I use? And also how much do I find beautiful or do I love? So those are the two lenses that I look at my items through. I ask if it's useful or if it's beautiful. And if it passes one of those two tests, it gets to stay. And if it doesn't, then it needs to go.
So repeat that again. So do you love it?
Yes. Is it useful or beautiful? The where I got that from was one of my favorite quotes about minimalism. It's from William Morris. He was one of the early interior designers in the 1800s. And he has a quote that says, "Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful." So those are the two checkpoints for me. Do I know it to be useful? And again, I only know it to be useful if I'm actually using it. It's not potentially useful. I know it to be useful because I use it. Or do I believe it to be beautiful? So useful or beautiful are the checkpoints that I use and that I recommend most people use, which is exactly what Erin was doing with the memorabilia. Memorabilia, rarely is it ever useful, but beautiful could be also interpreted as, is it valuable? Does it bring me joy? Does it fill my spirit? And those are the things she kept from her husband, those things that fit that category of beauty, use, value, love. And so those things were things she should keep.
And what about, like, how do you handle food? Is there a method to applying this to food?
Yes. It would be the same thing. I think a lot of times we have more food. I mean, just look at the statistics. I think the last time I read a statistic, it said Americans are throwing away about 1/3 of the food in our country, which is extremely wasteful and kind of sickening to think about. But yeah, in my kitchen, we have a meal plan. So I plan out every week what we're going to cook, and I often cook the same things over and over, which most people do, unless they're gourmet chefs. We're making the same basic meals, 5 to 10 meals every week. So I plan what meals we need for the week. Based on that, I make my grocery list. I buy pretty much just what's on the list when I go to the store. And I can thank my grandmother who went through the Great Depression for this. I use up leftovers. Like, I hate to waste food. In fact, the kids, if they have like sandwich crust left, they'll be like, "Do you want to be Grandma Samini?" And they'll like hand me the crust. I'm like, "Yes, I do. I'm gonna eat that crust because I can't stand to see it go to waste."
Right.
So there's some of my own personal, I guess, psychology involved in that. But with food, it's the same thing. Just thinking about how much you can use, right? Because we are capable, most of us in America are blessed enough and wealthy enough that we can purchase more food than we could ever use. Our dollars would allow us to go to Costco and buy way more than we could use before it's spoiled. So thinking about what you can actually use in your family is a really good barometer to use to keep from wasting food.
And so your life obviously has gotten simpler, right? With, I would imagine, less laundry, or is it more
it has.
laundry, less laundry, things like that. What does that look like?
Yeah. In terms of laundry, yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say what really has surprised me about adapting a minimalist lifestyle is the trickle down of every aspect of your life. I I was mostly paycheck to paycheck, and now I've got more money in the bank because I'm not buying clothes all the time, and I'm healthier because I have a lot more time and I'm exercising a lot more. I've lost some weight, and so I'm physically better. I'm spending more time with my children because I'm not cleaning up as much, and I'm teaching them how to be giving and give their toys away and live with less. And I think the trickle down of this is what's been so surprising to me, and how it frees up your time, your mind,
Your money.
your money.
Mhm.
So it has taken me by surprise at how it truly does change your entire lifestyle. And I chose to go back to school this fall because I feel like I have more time. And
Congratulations.
it's been life changing, and it all started from
Going through boxes.
And now I have about half the amount of clothes I have when I started. My children have half the amount of clothes. They don't miss any of the things we've gotten rid of. Their bedrooms are much easier to clean. In fact, yesterday I had them clean their bedrooms, and it took them an hour as opposed to an all-day project like it used to be. So it's amazing how living a simpler life can change
Right.
everything.
I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm just sitting here and thinking about packing, like packing a suitcase. And I know, based on my experience, when I pack a suitcase, I take what I think I'm going to wear, but I'm always taking more than I wear, because I tend to wear the things that I like and that I wear over again. And, so I can see applying this strategy to so many areas of your life in general, you know? So what other ways? Because I think we're at a time in our lives, in history, that people do want to live a simpler life. I think people are tired, they're cluttered, they want to play, they have to work, and they want to play. And money, I mean, things cost a lot of money. I mean, tomato costs a lot of money. So I think that this is really timely and connected to so many things. I mean, we're reevaluating our lives and so forth. So there's a lot to talk about. But before we do, I just want to invite everyone to please feel free to call in if you like. 919-518-9773. You'll call in right to the studio and you'll get me and you'll get us. So we'd love to hear from you. If you have any personal experience, if you're dealing with something, if you want to know a little tool, a strategy, this is the time. You can also contact us on Skype, and that would be computers, and that's plural. The number 2K voice, you'll come in on voice, and then we do have a chat. If you'd like to ask a question in there or comment or whatever you like, please feel free to do that as well. Okay, so what other strategies? I love the towel thing. I love that because it's true. I mean, when you come out of a shower, you're clean. All you're doing is wiping
Exactly.
yourself, right?
It's so funny. It always comes back to the towels with people. And it's one of my blog posts.
Yeah.
And I got such crazy reactions to it. People like, you only have 2 towels? That's crazy. And I'm like, it's actually not crazy, because I guarantee you're using the same 2 towels over and over again. You just don't realize it because your cupboard is full of towels. So yeah, so thinking about how many towels you need, I think in your bedroom in relation to clothing, I mean, you were talking about packing. One of the things that I have gone to is a capsule wardrobe, which if you Google that term, you'll find a ton of information about a capsule wardrobe. But basically, a capsule wardrobe is just a simplified wardrobe of 20 to 40 pieces. And a piece means one item of clothing. So this shirt is a piece, pants are a piece, underwear and like workout wear and pajamas don't count. But you minimize your wardrobe to 20 to 40 pieces for that season, and you wear those 20 to 40 pieces. And then when the season changes, obviously you can swap things in and out, but you're always maintaining 20 to 40 pieces, and the rest are put away so you don't see them. And what's amazing to me is people say, oh my gosh, like your closet, I mean, my closet is like this, right? They're like, that's just, I can't believe you don't have that much. And I will tell them, you're already doing a capsule wardrobe. You just don't know it. You have all this other stuff. It's that whole Pareto principle, right? The 80-20, that we are using 20% of our things 80% of the time. That applies to your clothes. So you're only wearing 20% of your clothes, probably 80% of the time. That applies in your kitchen. Probably only using 20% of your dishes and pots and pans 80% of the time. That applies in your garage. You're using 20% of those tools 80% of the time. And so I would encourage people to just start letting go and like kind of go a little crazy and think, I'm going to have less clothes in my closet than I think I'd actually wear. Like, let me just get a little crazy. Don't get rid of the rest of them. Put them aside and just see, experiment, right? Or go down to like less toys for your kids than you think they'll actually play with. I used to do this when my kids were little. I'm like, I'm going to set out a paltry number of playthings because they were 2 and 3 when I started doing this, so they didn't know. So I would set out like a tiny amount, like some wooden spoons and like 5 balls. I'd be like, they're going to revolt. Like, this is going to go terribly. And the amazing thing was they got more creative. They played better. They fought less. It was easier to clean up. And so it was just so amazing to see as I did these little experiments with how low can you go, basically, that it's unbelievable how little you need to live a fulfilling and happy life. And actually, the less you have, as Erin was saying, you often end up with a more fulfilling and happy life when you have less stuff. It's a byproduct of having the less stuff because it frees up so many other areas of your life.
So Rose, Amnon has a question, and I'm going to let him ask.
It's almost like I'm setting you up. How long do you use one towel?
How long do I use it? That's
Yeah.
like I told you, it always goes back to towels. Okay. So this is me.
Yeah.
My personal feeling on towels. So Adnan, you may have a different towel MO, and that's okay. I'm not trying to force my ideas on you here. I'm cool with using one towel for a week.
Okay.
And then wash it once a week.
Okay.
Like Marilyn said.
So that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, empty nesters, 2 people in the house. So what now? Are you washing 2 towels every week in order to get, or every 2 weeks? Do you just do a wash for 2 towels?
So again, this depends on, are you cool with washing towels with other clothes? Some people are cool with that. Some people are like, my towels and my jeans shall never mix in the washer. If you're one of those, yeah, you're doing a load of just towels, my friend. But if you're cool with those towels touching other clothes, which is actually okay, I think, but that's me, then yeah, you would just throw them in with your normal load. And again, I've had empty nesters tell me, well, I could never do the 2 towels because they have children and grandchildren who come visit regularly and spend the night, in which case I say, then you need more than 2 towels per person. It makes sense for your life, right?
Yeah.
You have to do this based on what makes sense for your life, not anybody else's life. Life.
It's just that whenever I go downstairs to the basement and that's where the washing machine is, and I don't touch that because my wife will hit me over the head if I do anything there. And there's a basket full with towels. And I'm saying, why are the towels there? She said, I'm waiting until there's enough to wash. And there may be 10, 15 towels in there, and then she'll wash them all at once.
Well,
so I don't know. I mean, and she's pretty
savvy.
She tries not to waste too much electricity, too much So so I guess it
depends on your lifestyle.
Yeah,
you may need multiple towels because, like, but then you're going to save some. You're going to concentrate on something somewhere else. I would say.
I wish you lived closer.
So let's ask you this question. So when you talked about the 20, 40 items of clothing, do you try to stick to the same colors?
I do. What I found when I minimized down to the clothing that I loved is what often happens for me and for other people is you discover what your style is.
Right.
When you actually remove the 80% of clothing that you don't really like, the one-hit wonders, stuff you bought on the clearance rack at Target because it was only $3, you get rid of all that, you see that you have a style. And often what's interesting when I work with my one-on-one clients is I'll say, oh, you have a very classic style. And they'll be like, I do. I said, yeah, look at the pieces you're keeping. You like, nautical stripes. You like clean lines. Or I'll say, you have kind of a boho chic style. And they'll say, I do. I say, yeah, look at what you're keeping. Because we often don't really know what our style is, right? When we have all of that extra stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, when you minimize down to the 20 to 40, I realize that colors I really like are pink. So look at this. Pink, gray, black, and white or cream. I also realize that I really like light colors on top or a pattern, and then dark colors on bottom, like black leggings, dark wash jeans, black or dark shorts. I no longer buy like any light colored pants or really crazy patterned bottoms because I realize I want the bottom to be pretty much a black, solid, neutral. And then the top is where I will add color or a print. And I really like light colors
Mhm.
on top, light pink
Mhm.
or gray.
So
And that was really just the result of me going through my things
right.
and beating out the things that didn't work for me because they were kind of all the stuff that didn't fit those categories. So now when I go shopping, the interesting thing is I used to go shopping and I still like shopping, which is a weird thing. I grew up loving shopping with my mom and my sister. I still love to shop, but I used to shop by like, okay, I'm walking into the store. What's on sale? What's in the front window? And I would just, oh, this looks good. This looks cute. Oh, this is only $5. And I would just buy a bunch of random stuff. Hence the closet full of nothing to wear.
Mhm.
Now, when I go into a store to buy clothing, I have a list on my phone, and it is as specific as cream colored long sleeve tunic top.
Mhm.
That's what I'm looking for. That specific. If I don't find that thing, I will probably leave the store without buying anything. And so it's just such a reversal in the way I approach consuming things. I still consume things, I still buy things, I still shop, but I know exactly what I'm looking for when I walk into the store, as opposed to waiting for the store to tell me what I should buy.
Right, right. No, it makes it much easier. I mean, I know my style, and I know that when I'm just not going to wear just anything because it's going to just sit there. And when I do that, when I just buy something that somebody else told me and I'm not crazy about it, it's always wrong. It's always
Yes.
wrong. So, what other snazzy little tools can you share with us? I love the 2040. I love the idea of the towels. Of course, food is always good to make a list and if you're going to eat chicken and all that kind of stuff. What other cuz and obviously, you've got to understand who somebody is to understand, like you said, their lifestyles and how they do things.
Right.
And knowing yourself, knowing your colors, knowing your style, all that. But what other cool little strategies can you just share
Sure.
with us real quick about being organized, getting rid of things, cleaning up, being, doing this? What else can you tell us?
So one thing that I would tell people, it's on my mind because we just got back from a week in North Carolina for vacation. So we were in a rented condo. I often tell people in their kitchen to outfit your kitchen as if it was a rental home. When you go to a rental home and you're in the kitchen, if they have a kitchen, there's going to be the basic things you need: enough place settings for the number of people in the house, maybe a few spatulas, one set of knives, one set of measuring cups, one set of measuring spoons, one can opener, one wine opener. It's equipped for exactly what you need. And often people find that on vacation, if they have to do dishes, they have to cook, it's so much easier because there's just the right amount of things. So I tell people, apply that principle to your own kitchen. I call it the cabin state of mind, right? Imagine that you're staying in a cabin, but the cabin is your house. And that cabin state of mind where you have just what you need will simplify and make your life so much easier. So for example, in my kitchen, I have one spatula. I have one vegetable peeler. I have one set of salad tongs, and these are things that back in the day, I have two pot holders. But back in the day, I had my drawers absolutely crammed full
So do
of
you let me
all
ask
stuff.
Rose, I gotta ask you. So do you wash dishes a lot? I mean, do you run a dishwasher? Do you wash by hand? What do you do?
We run the dishwasher usually once a day. And then anything that I wouldn't put in the dishwasher, I wash by hand once a day. So example, like with the spatula thing, people are like, well, how can you have just one spatula? Like, what if you're baking cookies and you need it? I'm like, I'm in the kitchen, so I'm right by the sink. So if I have to go from using it for peanut butter to using it for chocolate or something else, I'll just wash it really quickly. And the other thing is, if the spatula is not in the utensil holder, I know exactly where it is. I know it's in the dishwasher. There's no question in my mind of where that item is. So yeah, if you're doing a lot of cooking where you're using a lot of utensils, you would just wash them as you go if you needed
Right.
to.
What do
But
you
I found
think?
that
Okay, go
you
ahead. I'm
don't
sorry.
use as much as you think.
What do you think about property, like the homes people live in? Some people live in these big, humongous homes. Some people live in, what do you think about that? What's your philosophy?
Well, it's interesting. Some of the statistics that I know just because of what I do is that in the past 50 years, American homes have tripled in size. Yet, you were talking about storage units, about 1 in 10 Americans pays to rent an offsite storage unit. So our homes are 3 times the size, but even the bigger home is not providing us enough space to store all of the stuff that we need. So we're renting storage units to store the extra stuff.
Mhm.
So I think that it's just sort of indicative of some of the things Erin was talking about, where we're thinking about trying to fill a void with stuff. So our home kind of becomes another possession. I mean, technically it is a possession, right?
Mhm.
You own it or you're paying a mortgage on it. It becomes another symbol of who I am, right? So I buy the bigger home. That means maybe, not for everybody, but maybe that means like you feel more important because your home is bigger and it has more rooms or has more space. I'm not saying that it's bad to have a bigger home. There are plenty of good reasons to have a big home. You might have a big family, or maybe that's truly what you value. You value having a big home. It makes you feel free, it makes you feel good. Awesome. Rock on with that. But if you're buying a bigger home because you feel like it's what you should do, or you feel like it will give you a better status, or you're trying to fill some type of void in yourself, some type of insecurity or fear by buying the bigger home, then that's not
Right.
really the right reason to buy a bigger home. So I
Right.
think a lot of times with the bigger home, it's an emotional thing. And then just the practical aspect of you have a big home, so you're probably not going to have empty rooms. You're going to buy furniture to fill those rooms. You're going to buy things to fill those cupboards. You made sure there was plenty of storage, so you're going to put lots of stuff in tubs and fill up the storage. We kind of expand our amount of stuff to fit the space that we have. So, just I often talk about this with women and purses, right? You've got a bigger purse, you're going to fill it with more stuff, and suddenly your purse seems too small, so you buy a bigger purse.
Yeah,
And then you
right.
fill that bigger purse with stuff, and that just
Right.
kind of keeps happening.
Right.
It's the same thing with our homes. The bigger the home, the more stuff we will buy to fill it. And I think if that's what you really want to do, that is fine. But again, I would bring people back to asking, why does that matter to you? And not even to mention going down that road, most people financially are going to go into significant debts to do that, to buy a huge home and fill it with stuff.
Mhm.
There are people who wouldn't, but most people would. And then you have that financial burden of now I have to work more hours to pay for this stuff.
Right.
Thus, I have less time to do the things I want to do.
Right.
So it all trickles back
Right.
to the quality of life or the lifestyle that you want to live.
Right. Right. And while you were talking, I was thinking, what about technology, which is supposed to free us up, but then again, we're buying more. So what do you think about that?
Well, technology is really interesting. As Erin and I were talking, we are on my 2009 laptop. We were talking to you, and Erin's like, maybe you really should probably get a new laptop. I'm like, yeah, maybe I should. I think technology can be like anything else. I mean, it can be a status symbol. It can be a thing that we buy to prove our importance to other people, to try to impress other people, to try to make ourselves feel better. I think like with any purchase, you need to think about what do you really use? What do you really need?
Mhm.
And I would say most people probably need a phone. If you're an adult, you probably need a smartphone to interact and function well in this world. Some people don't need a laptop, but some people do. I think, and it also would depend, like someone like Adnan, who runs an online television studio, needs a lot more technology than somebody like me. So it would be dependent on the lifestyle that you live. So in terms of like art supplies or craft supplies, someone who is an artist needs a lot more paintbrushes and a lot more paints and a lot more canvases than someone like me who might just need, a handful of paintbrushes and like 2 or 3 colors of paint. So your technology needs are really dependent on your lifestyle. And I think, again, it's asking yourself, what can I use or what do I find beautiful? Those two questions.
Gotcha. All right, I have more questions, but before I go on with my rest of my questions, I just want to remind everyone that I have a couple of books on Amazon that I want to mention. In Just One Afternoon, Listening to the Hearts of Men, In Just One Afternoon, Listening to the Hearts of Twins and Millennials, and soon They will be joined by their next sibling, which is in just one afternoon, listening to the hearts of people impacted by opioid addiction. I am looking for someone to interview who has been struggling with their addiction. And if you know they can be anonymous, please let me know. Marilyn at marilynshannon.com. Also, somebody who has been a dealer or is a dealer that would be willing to share, I would greatly honor their story as well. So please reach out to me anytime you can at Marilyn at marilynshannon.com. And the books are all on Amazon, ebooks and paperback. So just really quick, because before you know, we will be out of time. But this is an important subject as well when you're talking about minimalists. Is how do you teach your children?
Do you
What do
want
you
to talk a
tell
little
your
bit?
children? Yeah.
Sure. So the way I approach it with my children is if they have not played with a toy in the past month, it's going to go to a child that will play with that toy. And it's served its purpose. They've played with it. It's time to move on. And then I did the same thing with them that I did with my own clothes. We took all the clothes and set them out and said, you know, a lot of this is hand-me-downs and you don't wear it. Let's get rid of anything you don't wear. And let's give it, I've really focused on children that don't have as much as they have and sold it to them that way. And it's been very rewarding for them to go to the women and children's homeless shelter and drop off a van load of clothes and toys for children that may not have as much as they do. And they recognize now that there are kids in the world that don't have it as much stuff as they have. And I think for them it's been rewarding. And I think they've become more giving.
I would think so. It sounds like they would.
Yes,
Sure. Yeah.
they now I think embrace the idea of giving more than they used to.
Yeah. I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rose, before you answer, I want to make sure that you tell us about your website, your book, that kind of stuff. If you know, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, my website is my first and last name, roselounsbury.com. And Lounsbury is LOUNSBURY.com. So on my website, you'll find links to my courses. You will find links to follow me on social media. You'll find information about my book, which is also on Amazon. I'll also tell people, and Adnan, you'll want to watch this. If you Google on YouTube, go on YouTube and look for my name. And I have a TED Talk where I talk specifically about the towels. That's my beginning question. It's called How Many Towels Do You Need? So if you search for my name on YouTube, you'll find that. And you can watch my TEDx talk, and that might help you share the news about the towels with your wife or anyone else out there who's thinking about this lifestyle. That's a really good entry point as well.
Cool. Yeah.
So I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, and just look for my name, Rose Lounsbury. You'll find me both places. In terms of kids, obviously I have 3 kids, so this is something that I'm passionate about talking about. And I agree with absolutely everything that Erin said, that it really comes from a place of not saying you've got too much stuff and you need to get rid of your stuff. It's more of you are so blessed, and there are people in the world that don't have the blessings that you have. What can we do to help those people by giving them some of the things we can't use? And even small children can understand that. I will also tell parents, though, if your children are under the age of 5, really like 4 and under, they're too egocentric to really get that message. They're just not able to comprehend how giving their toy to someone might help someone. So I'd say kind of start those conversations. You could start it at 4 maybe, but really around school age, around age 5, I think that's a conversation you want to have. And just like anyone else, children learn by what they see. So if you want your kids to do this, you need to do this yourself. Your children are not going to feel like they should have a minimal closet or a minimal toy box if they see that your closet is stuffed to the gills and that you have a kitchen with so many gadgets that you can't find what you need. So I also tell parents that, you know, what Erin did was she did it the right way. She started with her stuff. She started with her things and she modeled the behavior. And then when you approach your kids the way she did, where you say, hey, can I help you go through your clothes so we can give to these kids in our community who don't have what you have? Or can we go through your books and donate it to the children's hospital? is coming from a place that's very honest, and the kids have seen the behavior in the home, they're much more likely to go along with it. So I really caution parents, don't approach your kids until you've started doing this yourself. And I also think you'll realize that your children have the same attachments to things that you might have. Like I, for a long time, had this odd attachment to a bundt pan in my kitchen. I never used it, but in my mind, I was going to make a bundt cake. I had a recipe. I knew it was going to be lemon. I had all this created in my mind that this was going to happen. And the reason is because my mom makes bundt cakes and she makes a lemon bundt cake and it's delicious. So I thought that's what I'm supposed to do. So I held on to this bundt cake. I never decluttered it. I hadn't used it I never used it. I had it for like 5 or 6 years. Finally, just like 2 weeks ago, I put it in my donation box because I'm like, this is ridiculous. What are you telling people? They need to get rid of stuff they don't use and you're not doing it. But realize when you do this with your children, you're going to see that in them too. They're going to have what you would consider an unrealistic attachment to something. You're gonna be like, but you never use it, you never play with it, just get rid of it, just let it go. But realize that they may have a reason they're holding on to it, and it's just as valid for them as it would be for you. And you wouldn't want somebody to try to force you to give something up, especially because you're in a power position over them. So don't try to force your kids to get rid of their stuff, but model the behavior. And when you do go through things with them, respect their decision making, respect the things they want to let go of, even if you think it's great or you just bought it for them, respect that they're ready to let go of it. My daughter, honestly, donated a coloring book we gave her for her birthday a week after we gave it to her, literally a week. And I was like, okay, and it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I love,
Yeah.
you know, everything that you've been talking about. And sometimes you need that kind of motivating factor. My mother is coming here to visit for about a month or two. We have very small closets in our rental. It forces me to get rid of things every time she comes because, I don't have the space for it all. So I'm just going through things like a banshee and getting rid of
Yeah.
things so she has a place to put her 1,000 clothes. But but that's what we're gonna do. But anyway, just one word from each of you, like some kind of short little sentence of wisdom before we close. What about you, Rose? What do you have to say before we close?
Well, I guess my piece of wisdom that I would leave people with is you might feel overwhelmed, but what's most important is that you just start. And there's no wrong way to do this. Just start anywhere. You can start with your towels, start with your junk drawer, start with memorabilia, but just start and don't worry about doing it right or wrong. Just start somewhere and see what a difference that little step makes in your life.
Perfect. Just start. And then what about you, Erin?
Well, I think I'm going to piggyback on what Rose said. And the easiest way, I think, to get started is set a timer for 15 minutes on your phone.
Oh.
And tell yourself you're going to work for 15 minutes. Every time I did that, I would end up working for hours. It's the getting started. And when you get started, the emotional stuff will get worked through. It's amazing. It's kind of like exercising. It's just get started and the rest will follow.
Well, you both have been wonderful, inspiring. I'm very grateful that you came on. I think this is a really important idea for people to grab hold of. So just start anywhere. That's perfect ending. Just start at the beginning, start anywhere, and it's perfect. So thank you both so much for being here. We appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your story, Erin. It was lovely. Thank you both so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. We wish you both well. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.